All right, well, look, no show's perfect. Penguin, episode 4. I do want to stress, I don't think this episode is bad, but it is the first episode in the show so far where I've been like, that's not fully working. So this is basically our flashback episode for Sofia. Although before we get that, we do get what sort of happened right before Vic showed up at the end of the previous episode. And it does answer the immediate question of why did Oz leave her behind? Because that seemed, in the moment, like a very foolish thing for him to do. A foolish thing I could buy him doing, but it was like, boy, you really screwed up. But it makes a lot more sense now that we've seen that from what was being said by the Maronis, that his cover of not really being on her side, or at least not in a way that she could even surface level trust, was blown. And so leaving her behind to, I'm sure he hoped, get killed, yeah, that was a decision that made more sense. But this episode is mostly flashback, covering Sofia's time being falsely accused of being the hangman, which is interesting in and of itself because in the comics, Sofia Falcone does not mess around when it comes to, laying hands on somebody. And I don't think it's wrong to have her have been falsely accused and be like, no, she didn't do that, and sort of examine a bit more how the system and her family damaged her. So like that works, but we get this where she gets set up and framed because a reporter starts snooping around about all these girls who supposedly committed suicide by hanging, and it makes Sofia question things, including about the death of her own mother, and suspect her father. We get flashbacks, not played by John Turturro, who played Falcone in the movie, but played by Mark Strong, who acquits himself pretty well. Like, this feels like the same character, which is good, because I liked the take on Falcone from the Batman. So I'm glad that I'm getting the through line and the consistency feels there, even with the slight face change. And even that wasn't that drastic because they slapped the mustache on him and the big glasses. So it's not even that different to look because the parts that you most remember are still there anyway. And then, okay, so she never goes to trial for these murders. She gets sent to Arkham because initially she is it is called upon by the judge who was in Falcone's pocket to have a psychological evaluation, and that evaluation sends her to Arkham. So the Arkham stuff is where I kind of went a little bit. Not because it doesn't work in and of itself, but how do I put this? The way they depict Arkham is very Gotham, like the TV show Gotham. In and of itself, not a bad thing. I loved Gotham. But Gotham was exaggerated, over the top, and dark camp, basically. And the way that they depict Arkham here, reminding me way, way, way more of a show that doesn't do the more grounded thing that this does. It feels misplaced. Like, I understand why. In terms of a pitch, why they handled Arkham the way they did, because basically, like, it needs to be such a horrible place that the show is really trying to validate, well, not only the anger that Sofia has, but what she's going to do at the end of the episode. And having Arkham be that bad is part of how that's validated, but I still don't think you had to go this. I don't think you had to go metal chain collars and orange striped jumpsuits and guards just standing in place while somebody beats the crap out of her and launching into electroshock immediately. I feel like and again, Arkham is a terrible place. I'm not saying Arkham should be depicted as a healthy mental institution. It should not. But I feel like it should be more grounded in the ways in which it is a bad place. Honestly, they should have gone more One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with it. Not go to this length of they're literally in chains at this place, but more like, okay, yeah, this does look like it's a hospital. It looks like people might try to get better, or maybe this is where they're safest, but it's also wrong and does not help these people, and in fact actively hurts these people and punishes them for disobedience in a way that absolutely is in nobody's best interest for mental health. And I think, because like, if you've ever seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like, you do not come away feeling like that mental health facility was a good place, but it also wasn't a freaking dungeon like this is. Maybe they could have gone a little bit more exaggerated than One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but I feel like leaning more towards that depiction of a bad mental health facility would have fit this show a lot better. This just felt like the TV show Gotham invaded this version of Batman for about half an episode, and it's weird. I still don't know how I feel about her shrink. I get why Sofia feels about him the way that she does. I'm not. A couple years ago, I did a video talking about the depictions of mental health in general in our entertainment, and the fact that mental health is frequently demonized one way or another, either shown to be unhelpful or actively harmful, and often the practitioners of mental health are functional villains, if not outright awful human beings. And while at least at present they haven't fully done that with this guy, I'm still kind of waiting for the shoe to drop on that. And again, in and of itself wouldn't be the worst thing, but it would mean we literally have no depiction of a positive mental health force in the show, if and when the shoe fully drops and, however awful this guy is. And again, it's not like you can't have awful people, but I just, at this point, I'm a little bit sensitive to things that just depict mental health only ever in a negative light, which is a lot of our entertainment. If it addresses it at all, it's usually that way. Like, how many shows or movies have had the therapist was somehow a twist villain, or like was abusing their patients? Like, but it hasn't gone all the way there yet with him, but I feel like it's continuing to lean that way. That said, once we bring it back up to the present and we're no longer dealing with Sofia actually, one more thing about the flashback. I like the more layers we get to Alberto, to her brother, with this, because this show does not hide the fact that Alberto, kind of a crap guy. Like, he's a screw up, he's an addict, he's lazy, he's part of a violent family, not a good guy. But he was a good brother. He was not a good person, but he was a good brother. And this episode handles that balance really, really well. And it feels, it makes her pain at his loss deepen a bit more, even though we're now several episodes deep of him having been dead. So I like how that's done. And her confronting the family was chilling. Like, you have to have a lot of faith in your performers to have one of the men at that table start to stand up and go, like, that's enough, and she doesn't even say anything. She just stares him down and he sits back down. You have to have a lot of faith in your performers to sell that so that it doesn't seem contrived or silly or unbelievable. And these performers do pull that off. And the degree she takes it to, boy do I appreciate the sparing of the kid. I actually found myself wondering, like, why would you have a child at the family dinner where you're discussing your crime business? That's a little contrived, but it does set it up to show where Sofia will draw some lines. For as far as she has gone, for as much as she is ready to wreak vengeance, she's not going to be non-discriminating about it. I was expecting the house to be blown up. This was a lot better. This felt a lot more calculated, a lot more careful, and the fact that she was able to target and spare one of them, who she is now going to attempt to control and have under her thumb. Nicely done. Well played. And I'm going to be really curious to see what Oz does on the back of this, because he obviously can't go back to the Falcones. And the Maronis seem to have washed their hands of him as well. Where does he go now? I'll be real curious to see that. I'll also be curious to see how patient Sofia is going to be about dealing with Oz, because I think she wants Oz dead, but she's shown she can be patient and calculating, at least to a degree. And I'll be curious to see if she makes Oz a priority or something to deal with when the opportunity presents itself. We'll see. Still pretty good. It's just the degree to which they took the nastiness of Arkham, I think, actually hurt the verisimilitude of the world a little bit. I think it felt cartoonish. So that was that. And that is like the first time that something's gone on in the show where I'm like, that doesn't quite work. But it's not fully detrimental. I don't want any more Arkham flashbacks as a result of that. But the Penguin, episode 4. Yeah, episode 4. What do you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, and subscribe. All help me out. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can come on back next time you need a break. And now to give thanks to my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfula, Goddess Elida, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Oliver B., Melissa Pedersen, Movie Turtle, Ulrich Bogdan, Loki Eris, Melinda Walters, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Bernabi Lex the Poodle, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Adam R.D.L. Taylor, Pau Baraba Jago, Mira G, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. I don't know, it feels right that it's October the first time you're seeing all 3 of these at the same time.